The message arrived without warning. One moment, the bridge of the human warship Defiance hummed with routine activity. The next, every screen flashed with the same symbol, a crimson circle bisected by a silver line. Captain James Walker knew that mark. Every ship captain in the galaxy feared it. "Blood and Sky," he whispered. Around him, the bridge crew froze. The Defiance floated in the darkness of deep space, its hull marked with scars from 100 battles. Once sleek and gleaming, the vessel now wore its damage like badges of honor. The ship had earned its name many times over. "Play the message," Walker ordered, his voice steady despite the cold dread settling in his stomach. The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The being had pale blue skin stretched tight over sharp bones. Its 4 eyes blinked in unison. "Captain James Walker of the human vessel Defiance," the alien said in flat, perfect English. "The Galactic Council summons you to answer before the Blood and Sky judges. You stand accused of violating neutral space during engagement with Vex Empire forces. You will proceed immediately to the judge's sanctum at coordinates attached. Refusal will be taken as admission of guilt." The screen went black. For several seconds, nobody spoke. "Well," Walker said finally, running a hand through his short gray hair, "I guess we have a new destination." First Officer Lisa Bell stepped forward. "Sir, you understand what this means." "The judges," her voice trailed off. Walker nodded. Everyone knew about the Blood and Sky judges. Ancient beings who served as the ultimate authority in interstellar disputes. What most people knew, but never said aloud, was that no human vessel had ever faced the judges and returned intact. "Open a secure channel to Earth Command," Walker ordered. While they waited for the connection, Navigator Reed pulled up information about the sanctum's location. "It's a 3-day jump, Captain. On the edge of the 7th quadrant." Walker nodded. 3 days to prepare for what might be the Defiance's final mission. The communications officer spoke up. "Earth Command responding, secure channel established." The view screen showed Admiral Wilson, her face grim. "Walker, we've received the notification of your summons." "Orders, Admiral." Wilson sighed. "Officially, you are to comply with the summons and maintain diplomatic protocols at all times." She paused, glancing off screen as if checking for listeners. "Unofficially, this is an opportunity. No human has ever seen the inside of the sanctum. We need to know more about the judges, their capabilities, their weaknesses." "You want me to spy," Walker said bluntly. "I want you to survive," Wilson replied, "and to bring back anything useful. The Vex attacked first. We have the proof. But the judges have always favored the older species. Humans have only had faster-than-light travel for 70 years. To them, we're children. Dangerous children," Walker added. Wilson nodded. "Exactly why they fear us. The Defiance is more than just a ship to them. It's a symbol of human expansion. Be careful, James. This isn't just about one border skirmish." After the call ended, Walker addressed his senior staff in the briefing room. The ship's emblem, a phoenix rising from flames, hung on the wall behind him. "I won't sugarcoat this," he began. "We're heading into the lion's den. The sanctum predates most civilizations. The judges have eliminated entire species they deemed unworthy." Engineer Tom Garcia raised his hand. "Captain, what did we actually do?" "The Vex fired first. We crossed into the neutral zone to pursue them," Security Chief Marcus Stone answered. "Technically a violation, but they were using it as a safe harbor to attack our colonies." Walker nodded. "Exactly. We have proof, but that might not matter. To the Council, we're newcomers who don't know our place." He looked around the table. "Whatever happens, I need everyone at their best. Garcia, I want the engines ready for anything. Reed, plot every possible escape route from the sanctum. Stone, security protocols at maximum. No one comes aboard without my direct approval." As the meeting ended, Navigator Ellie Reed stayed behind. "Captain, I've been studying the star charts around the sanctum. There's something odd about that region. What kind of odd? Stars that should be there, errant, as if something's hiding them. Walker frowned. Keep looking into it. Quietly. The next 3 days passed quickly. The crew performed their duties with tense efficiency. Off duty, they spoke in hushed tones about the summons. Many recorded messages for families back home. On the final approach, Walker stood at the view screen as the Defiance dropped out of FTL. The sight before them silenced the bridge. The Sanctum hung in space like a massive thorn, a structure of impossible angles and dark metal. It stretched at least 20 kilometers from end to end, surrounded by ships from dozens of species. Some appeared to be permanent fixtures, their hulls integrated into the station itself. Life signs? Walker asked. Thousands, Reed replied. Maybe tens of thousands. Multiple species. The structure itself. Sir, I'm not sure it's entirely solid. Some readings suggest it exists partially in another dimension. The communications officer straightened suddenly. Captain, we're being hailed by multiple vessels. Most are warnings. Warnings? They're telling us to turn back. That humans aren't welcome. He hesitated. One message says no ship like ours has ever left the Sanctum intact. Walker squared his shoulders. Open a channel to the Sanctum. A voice answered. Deep, vibrating at frequencies that made teeth ache. Human vessel. Proceed to docking bay 7. Blood and sky await. As they approached the designated bay, a sleek ship with blade-like wings cut across their path, forcing Reed to adjust course. Through the view screen, Walker could see alien faces watching from their bridge, laughing. What species is that? Walker asked. Marat. Stone answered. Old council members. They think this is funny. Walker's jaw tightened. Record everything. From this moment, we document it all. He turned to face his crew. The Defiance didn't get its name by backing down. They expected us to refuse this summons. They want an excuse. We won't give them one. The massive docking bay doors parted like the mouth of some ancient beast, revealing darkness within. Take us in, Walker ordered. Slow and steady. Let's show them humans know how to make an entrance. The Defiance moved forward, battle scars gleaming under the harsh lights of the Sanctum. Its human crew standing tall at their stations. Behind them, the docking bay doors closed with finality, sealing the fate of the first human warship to face the judgment of blood and sky. The docking clamps seized the Defiance with unexpected force, causing the entire ship to shudder. Captain Walker steadied himself against his command chair as warning lights flashed across the bridge. Status report, he ordered. Engineer Garcia's voice came through the comm. Those aren't normal docking clamps, Captain. They've locked onto our hull like they never planned to let go. They're also scanning us. Deep scans that are getting past our shields somehow. Walker frowned. Can they access our systems? Not yet, but they're trying. I've activated our highest security protocols. Good. Keep monitoring. Walker turned to Security Chief Stone. Prepare a welcome party. Standard diplomatic protocol. But I want everyone armed. Stone nodded grimly. Yes, sir. Before they could organize further, a message appeared on the main screen. Captain Walker and senior officers will present themselves at the central chamber in 1 hour. No weapons permitted. Walker looked at his first officer. Bell, you're staying aboard. If anything happens to me. With respect, sir, Bell interrupted. The message specifically requested senior officers. All of us. Walker wanted to argue, but knew she was right. The judges were already testing their obedience. Fine. Reed, Garcia, Stone, Bell, you're with me. Commander Taylor will have command of the ship. As they prepared to disembark, Walker received an unexpected message. Captain, there's someone requesting to come aboard. Says he knows you. Walker checked the external cameras and was surprised to see a familiar face. Let him in. I'll meet him at the airlock. Minutes later, Walker greeted Admiral Thomas Thorne, his former mentor and commander, now Earth's representative to the Galactic Council. James, Thorne said, extending his hand. His once strong frame now seemed diminished in the formal diplomatic uniform. I wish we were meeting under better circumstances. What are you doing here? Walker asked as they walked toward his ready room. When I heard the Defiance was summoned, I requested permission to observe. The judges rarely allow it, but my position afforded some leverage. Thorne lowered his voice once they were alone. James, you need to understand what you're walking into. This isn't just a trial. It's theater. The outcome was likely decided before you arrived. Walker's jaw tightened, so why bother with the show? Legitimacy. The council needs to maintain the illusion of fairness. But you need to know. Thorne hesitated. No human vessel has ever survived a judge's verdict. So I've heard, Walker replied. What about the evidence? The Vex attacked us first. Thorne shook his head. Evidence matters less than politics. The Vex have been members of the council for millennia. We've been here less than a century. Then what's your advice? Be respectful but not submissive. And watch for Lord Vextar. He's their chief prosecutor and has 3 of the 7 judges in his pocket. When the time came, Walker and his senior officers followed a long curved corridor that seemed to bend in impossible ways. The walls pulsed with faint light, creating the unsettling impression that they were walking through a living organism rather than a space station. They emerged into a vast chamber that defied the exterior dimensions of the sanctum. The ceiling rose hundreds of meters, disappearing into darkness. 7 massive thrones formed a semicircle, each occupied by a being of different species. Below them sat hundreds of representatives from across the galaxy, watching with curious or hostile eyes. The captain and officers of the human warship Defiance announced a thin, tall being with translucent skin. Walker led his team to the center of the room, where they stood on a circular platform that glowed faintly beneath their feet. You stand before the blood and sky judges, the announcer continued. The wisdom of ages, the balance of the cosmos, the final arbiters of galactic law. The central judge leaned forward. Unlike the others, this being was completely covered in ornate armor that concealed any hint of its true form. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Captain James Walker, you are accused of violating neutral space during conflict with the Vex Empire, employing excessive force against retreating vessels, and demonstrating evolutionary unfitness for interstellar society. Walker's head snapped up at the final charge. Evolutionary unfitness. That wasn't in the summons. A ripple of murmurs spread through the watching crowd. The judges may consider all relevant matters, said a new voice. A tall, gray-skinned being with 6-fingered hands stepped forward. I am Lord Vextar, representing the injured party. The human's surprise only demonstrates their ignorance of our most basic procedures. Walker felt his temper rising, but kept his voice steady. My crew and I acknowledge the first charge while reserving the right to present mitigating evidence. We reject the second charge completely. As for the third, he paused, looking directly at the central judge. I wasn't aware that evolution was subject to legal judgment. More murmurs, some sounding almost approving. You will have opportunity to present your case, the central judge said. But first, Lord Vextar will detail the accusations. What followed was a masterful performance. Vextar showed recordings of the Defiance crossing into the neutral zone, firing upon Vex ships. Conveniently missing was any footage of the prior Vex attacks on human colonies. Furthermore, Vextar continued, the humans have shown a disturbing pattern of aggression. In just 70 years since achieving faster-than-light capability, they have built more warships than the Merat did in their first 3 centuries of space travel. Because we needed them, Walker interjected. The Vex have attacked our colony 6 times in the past year alone. The human speaks out of turn, Vextar said smoothly. Another sign of their species' impulsiveness. The central judge raised a hand. Captain Walker will have his turn to speak. The armored head turned toward him. You may present your opening statement. Walker stepped forward, feeling the eyes of hundreds of aliens upon him. He saw Thorne in the audience, giving an almost imperceptible nod. "Honorable judges," Walker began, "I won't pretend to know all your protocols and traditions. Humans are newcomers here, as everyone keeps reminding us. But there are some principles that should transcend cultures, like the right to defend ourselves." He activated a small device in his palm, projecting images above the platform. "These are recordings from 3 human colonies attacked by Vex forces in the past year. Note the civilian targets. Note the use of banned weapons." Vextar started to object, but Walker continued. "We pursued the Vex into neutral space because they were using it as a sanctuary after attacks. We regret the technical violation, but not the protection of our people." Walker looked around the chamber. "As for our evolutionary unfitness, I wonder how many species here were judged for their fitness when they first reached the stars. Or is this a new standard created just for humans?" The room fell silent. Walker could feel his crew standing tall behind him. "I challenge the legitimacy of that charge," he concluded, "and I respectfully request that this court focus on the specific incident rather than putting my entire species on trial." The central judge was still for a long moment before speaking. "Bold words, Captain Walker, but you misunderstand. This court is not merely addressing one incident." The judge's voice grew colder. "Your species' very right to maintain a military presence in space is what we will decide." Walker felt as if the floor had dropped from beneath him. He glanced at Thorne, whose face had gone pale. "This trial will reconvene tomorrow," the central judge announced. "The human officers will be escorted back to their vessel." As they were led away, First Officer Bell whispered, "Captain, did they just threaten all of humanity?" Walker nodded grimly. "It seems we're not just fighting for the Defiance anymore. We're fighting for Earth itself." Back aboard the Defiance, Captain Walker called an emergency meeting in the secure briefing room. His senior officers gathered around the table, faces grim. "They're not just putting us on trial," Walker said. "They're putting all of humanity on trial." Security Chief Stone slammed his fist on the table. This was their plan all along. Use one border incident as an excuse to disarm the entire human race. The question is why now? First Officer Bell asked. "We've had conflicts with the Vex before." Engineer Garcia cleared his throat. "Captain, there's something else you should know. While you were at the trial, I detected unusual activity in our systems. Someone or something is trying to copy our databases." Walker's eyes narrowed. "Can you block it?" "I've put up additional firewalls, but their technology is advanced. They're using methods I've never seen before." Navigator Reed spoke up next. "Sir, I've been mapping the sanctum since we arrived. There are discrepancies in the structure's dimensions. Corridors that should connect don't. Spaces that are bigger inside than outside." "Some kind of spatial manipulation technology?" Walker asked. Reed nodded. "Yes, but there's more. I found access points that don't appear on any official maps. Service tunnels, maybe. They might provide alternative routes through the station." Walker considered this information. "Good work, both of you. Reed, I want you to continue mapping those secret passages. Garcia, protect our sensitive data at all costs, especially defense codes for Earth." "What about the trial tomorrow?" Bell asked. "We play their game. For now," Walker replied. "But we also prepare for the worst. Stone, I want security teams ready to move on short notice. Bell, try to make contact with representatives from other newer species. We can't be the only ones who faced this kind of judgment." As the meeting ended, Walker was surprised to receive a message requesting his presence at a diplomatic reception being held on the sanctum. It seemed an odd courtesy given the circumstances, but he decided to attend. It might provide valuable intelligence. The reception was held in a vast hall with transparent walls that revealed the starscape beyond. Representatives from dozens of species mingled, drinking colorful liquids and engaging in careful diplomatic conversation. Walker felt eyes following him as he entered. "Captain Walker," a voice called. Walker turned to see a tall, slender being with iridescent scales approaching. "I am Ambassador Kelth of the Krith Federation. May we speak?" Walker nodded, and they moved to a quieter corner. "Your opening statement today was impressive," Kelth said. "Few have the courage to challenge the judges so directly." "Thank you," Walker replied carefully. "The Krith are relatively new to the council as well, aren't they?" Kelth's scales rippled, a sign of emotion. "Yes, we faced our own trial 50 years ago. The charges were different, but the intent was the same. And the outcome? We surrendered our right to build certain classes of warships, a compromise that allowed us to keep our independence." Kelth leaned closer. "But we've regretted it ever since. The older species see concession as weakness." Their conversation was interrupted by the appearance of Lord Vextar, flanked by 2 guards. "Captain Walker," Vextar said with a thin smile. "Enjoying our hospitality?" "It's certainly educational," Walker replied evenly. Vextar's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "I hope you're preparing for tomorrow. The judges can be thorough in their questioning." "I look forward to it," Walker said, maintaining eye contact. "Especially since we'll be discussing the Vex attacks on human colonies that preceded our response." Vextar's smile faded. "Ancient wisdom teaches that the young must learn their place in the universe, Captain. Some lessons are harder than others." With that, he turned and walked away. Kelth's scales had darkened. "Be careful, Captain. The Vex have long memories and little mercy." Meanwhile, Reed and Stone had taken advantage of the distraction caused by the reception to explore the sanctum. Using Reed's maps, they slipped through a maintenance access point near the Defiance's docking bay. "These passages are designed for service drones," Reed whispered as they crawled through a narrow tunnel. "The biological species on the sanctum probably never use them." Stone checked his handheld scanner. "No life signs nearby. Where are we heading?" "There's a data hub 2 levels down. If we can access it, we might find records of previous trials." They moved carefully through the network of tunnels, avoiding patrol drones by hiding in recessed alcoves. Finally, they reached a small chamber filled with pulsing light panels. "This is it," Reed said, connecting a device to one of the panels. "This translator should let us access their records." The data that appeared made both of them go pale. "Stone, look at this," Reed whispered. "Records of every trial for the past 1,000 years. And the verdict." She swallowed hard. "No species designated as aggressive has ever been acquitted. They either surrendered their military capacity or what?" Stone asked. "Were eliminated. Entire civilizations gone." Reed continued scrolling through the data. "And look at this section about Earth. They've been monitoring us since our first faster-than-light test. They've already determined we're evolutionarily aggressive." Stone leaned closer to the screen. "What's this?" "Project Eclipse." Reed accessed the file. Images appeared of a massive weapon array. "It looks like the sanctum itself houses some kind of planet-killer weapon. And these coordinates." Her voice trailed off. "Those are Earth's coordinates," Stone finished grimly. Back on the Defiance, Garcia had made a disturbing discovery of his own. The intrusion into their systems wasn't just copying data, it was specifically targeting Earth's defense codes and shield frequencies. "Captain," he reported when Walker returned from the reception, "they're not just gathering evidence for a trial. They're preparing for an attack." Walker processed this information alongside the reports from Reed and Stone. The picture becoming clear was far worse than he had imagined. "The trial is just for show," he said finally. "They've already decided to neutralize humanity as a threat." "What do we do?" Bell asked. "We're one ship against an entire station full of the most powerful species in the galaxy." Walker looked at each of his officers. "We fight the way humans always have, by being smarter, more adaptable, and more stubborn than anyone expects." He moved to the ship's tactical display. "Garcia, can you create a virus to protect our defense codes?" Garcia nodded. "Already working on it." "Reed, How well have you mapped those secret passages? Well enough to reach several key systems, including their main communication array. Walker nodded. Good. And Stone, I need a security team ready to move on my signal. What's the plan, Captain? Bell asked. Walker's eyes were hard with determination. They think this trial is about judging us. By the time we're done, the entire galaxy will know who the real criminals are. Outside the viewports of the Defiance, the massive structure of the Sanctum loomed. Somewhere in that ancient station, the Blood and Sky judges were preparing their verdict, unaware that their human prey had discovered their true intentions. The trap was set, but the hunters would soon learn what happened when humans were cornered. Dawn on the Sanctum wasn't marked by sunlight, but by a gradual brightening of the station's ambient glow. Captain Walker had barely slept, spending most of the night planning with his officers. Now, as he prepared to return to the central chamber, he knew today might be their last chance. "Are we ready?" he asked, looking around at his team. Garcia nodded. "The virus is complete. If they try to access our defense codes again, it will not only block them but backtrack through their systems and locate their command protocols. The security teams are in position," Stone reported. "On your signal, we can move to secure key areas of the ship." Reed spread out her completed map of the Sanctum's hidden passages. "I've identified 3 critical targets: the main communications array, the weapon control center, and the historical archives." Walker studied the map. "Good work, all of you. Bell, what about our diplomatic channels?" First Officer Bell frowned. "Cut off. I tried to send a message to Earth Command, but all our communications are being blocked." "As expected," Walker said. "They don't want Earth to know what's happening until it's too late." He straightened his uniform. "Let's proceed with the plan. I'll return to the trial and keep their attention focused on me. The rest of you know your roles." As Walker made his way back to the central chamber, he was intercepted by Admiral Thorne. "James," Thorne said urgently, pulling him into an alcove. "Things are worse than I thought. The judges have scheduled their verdict for today, not tomorrow as announced. They're accelerating their timeline," Walker said. "Have you heard anything about Project Eclipse?" Thorne's eyes widened. "How do you know about that?" "My crew has been busy. Is it what we think it is?" Thorne nodded grimly. "A weapons platform designed to neutralize planetary defenses from a distance. They've used it before, on species deemed too dangerous. We need to warn Earth." "Impossible. All direct communications are monitored." Thorne hesitated. "James, I have to ask, what are you planning?" Walker looked at his old mentor. "Something desperate. You might want to distance yourself from me today." Thorne surprised him with a firm grip on his shoulder. "Not a chance. Earth stands together." The central chamber was more crowded than the day before. Word had spread about the unusual trial, and representatives from across the galaxy had come to witness the proceedings. Walker took his place on the central platform, alone this time. The central judge's armor seemed to absorb light as the massive figure leaned forward. "Captain Walker, before we continue, the court has received disturbing reports of unauthorized access to restricted areas of the Sanctum. Would you care to explain?" Walker kept his expression neutral. "I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about. My crew and I have respected all boundaries set for us." Lord Vextar stepped forward. "More deception. Our systems detected human biosignatures in maintenance tunnels last night. This blatant espionage only confirms their unfitness for civilized society." Walker turned to face Vextar directly. Interesting accusation from the representative of an empire that launched unprovoked attacks on human colonies and then hid in neutral space. If we're discussing deception, perhaps we should examine the Vex Empire's recent activities. Murmurs spread through the audience. Walker noticed several representatives from younger species watching with particular interest. "Enough," the central judge thundered. "This court will not be diverted by counter-accusations. Captain Walker, we have reviewed your evidence and find it insufficient to justify your violation of neutral space." Walker had expected this. Then I request permission to present additional evidence, evidence that speaks not just to this incident, but to the true nature of these proceedings. What additional evidence? The judge demanded. Evidence of corruption within this very court, Walker said clearly, his voice carrying throughout the chamber. Evidence that the Blood and Sky judges have systematically eliminated species they deem threatening, not to galactic peace, but to the dominance of the founding council members. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. The central judge rose to its full height, towering over Walker. This is an outrage. You have no such evidence. Don't I? Walker challenged. What about the records of previous trials? What about Project Eclipse? What about the weapon currently aimed at Earth's coordinates? For the first time, the central judge seemed speechless. Lord Vextar moved forward, rage evident in his posture. This human speaks treason. Guards, remove him. But before anyone could move, the main screens around the chamber flickered. Reed had succeeded in her mission to the communications array. Suddenly, the screens displayed ancient records, trials, verdicts, and the subsequent disappearance of entire civilizations. What you are seeing, Walker announced to the stunned audience, is the true history of the Blood and Sky judges, not impartial arbiters, but executioners for the oldest species, eliminating any rising civilization that might one day challenge their power. Meanwhile, aboard the Defiance, Garcia was implementing his part of the plan. The virus he had created did more than protect their systems. It was now spreading through the Sanctum's network, revealing the secret communications between the judges and the Vex Empire. Stone and his security team had moved to secure the docking clamps, preparing for a potential emergency departure. They encountered resistance from station security drones, but managed to disable them without raising general alarms. Back in the central chamber, chaos had erupted. Some representatives were demanding explanations, others were calling for Walker's immediate execution, and still others were trying to flee the chamber. The central judge slammed a massive armored fist down, creating a shockwave that silenced the room. Enough. This human has fabricated evidence to save himself from judgment. We will proceed directly to verdict. Walker stood his ground. The evidence speaks for itself, and there's more coming. On cue, the screens changed again, now showing detailed plans for attacks on Earth, plans that predated the border incident by months. The Vex Empire and certain members of this court planned to eliminate humanity from the beginning, Walker said. Our only crime was expanding too quickly, developing too rapidly. Our only crime was being human. The central judge's voice had changed, becoming colder, more mechanical. The verdict is rendered. The human species is deemed evolutionarily unfit. Captain James Walker and all humans present are sentenced to immediate termination. Project Eclipse will commence within the hour. Walker had expected this, but still felt a chill at the formal condemnation of his entire species. He tapped a hidden communicator. Now, he said simply. Throughout the sanctum, systems began to malfunction. Lights flickered, doors opened and closed randomly, and alarm sirens wailed. Garcia's virus had reached the station's main control systems. What is happening? Lord Vextar demanded. Walker smiled grimly. That would be the Defiance living up to its name. On the screens above, new images appeared, secret communications between Lord Vextar and 3 of the judges, planning the elimination of not just humans, but several other problematic younger species. As guards moved toward Walker, Admiral Thorne stepped forward, standing beside him. Earth stands with its own, he said firmly. Ambassador Kelth of the Krith Federation moved to join them, followed by representatives from 2 other younger species. The time of secrets is over, Walker declared to the chamber. Today, the judges themselves are judged. Chaos ruled the central chamber. The screens continued to display damning evidence while the station's alarms blared. Captain Walker stood at the center of the storm, flanked by Admiral Thorne and representatives from other younger species. Arrest them all. Lord Vextar commanded, his voice rising to a shriek. The central judge raised a massive armored hand. Enough. This disruption changes nothing. The verdict stands. The judge turned to face the wider audience. Clear the chamber. All ships are ordered to remain docked until further notice. Walker's communicator vibrated. Garcia's voice came through. Captain, we have a problem. I've detected multiple Vex warships moving into position around the sanctum. They weren't here before. Walker understood immediately. They planned for this possibility. If the trial didn't go as expected, they'd use force. He tapped his communicator again. Bell, prepare the Defiance for immediate departure. Combat protocols. First Officer Bell's voice was steady. Aye, Captain. But the docking clamps are still engaged. Stone will handle that. Just be ready. The central chamber was emptying rapidly as representatives rushed to their ships. Walker noticed Ambassador Kelth speaking urgently with delegates from other species. It's time to leave, Walker told Thorne. Things are about to get complicated. As they moved toward the exit, the main doors sealed shut. The central judge's voice echoed through the room. Captain Walker, did you really think we would allow you to spread these lies? Your ship will be detained and your crew executed as an example. Walker smiled grimly. You still don't understand humans, do you? We rarely do what's expected. At that moment, throughout the sanctum, Reed's team activated the final phase of their plan. The station's artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Lights failed completely, plunging the chamber into darkness before emergency systems cast everything in a dim red glow. What have you done? The central judge demanded. Created a distraction, Walker replied simply. In the darkness, Stone and his security team had reached the main docking control room. Using Reed's maps, they had bypassed the regular corridors and emerged directly behind the surprise technicians. Nobody move, Stone ordered as his team secured the room. We just need to borrow your console for a moment. With quick, practiced movements, Stone overrode the docking clamp protocols. Throughout the sanctum, ships found themselves suddenly free. Back in the central chamber, Walker's communicator vibrated again. Docking clamps released, Captain, Stone reported. But we've got company. Station security is converging on our position. Get back to the ship, Walker ordered. We'll meet you there. The central judge had risen to its full height, the armor now emitting a faint glow. You cannot escape, human. Even if you reach your ship, the Vex fleet will destroy you. Maybe, Walker conceded, but we'll make sure the truth escapes with us. He turned to Thorne and the other representatives. It's time to choose. Stay and continue living under their corruption, or leave with us and spread the truth. Kelth stepped forward. The Krith Federation stands with humanity. Two other representatives joined them, while several more hesitated, clearly torn. The massive doors began to spark as station security tried to cut through from the outside. They had little time left. There's another way out, Walker said, pointing to a maintenance access panel Reed had identified in her explorations. Through there, we can reach the docking bay directly. As they moved toward the panel, the central judge's voice boomed. This changes nothing. You have merely accelerated your species' extinction. Walker paused and looked back. You know what your mistake was. You judged us by your standards. You thought because we're young, we're weak. But humanity hasn't survived this long by being weak. We survived by adapting, by outsmarting stronger predators. He smiled without humor, just like we're doing now. They escaped through the maintenance tunnel just as the main doors burst open. Racing through the narrow passages, they emerged near the docking bay where the Defiance waited, engines already humming with power. Captain on deck, Bell announced as Walker rushed onto the bridge. Status report, Walker ordered, dropping into his command chair. All systems ready, Bell reported. But the Vex fleet has us surrounded. 7 warships in blocking formation. Walker studied the tactical display. Are the communication channels still open? Garcia nodded. Yes, sir. Our virus is still active in their network. Good. Broadcast everything we've discovered on all frequencies. Make sure every ship in the sector receives it. Walker turned to Reed. Plot a course through their blockade. Find me their weakest point. Reed's fingers flew over her console. There's a gap between their flagship and their second destroyer. It's small, but we might make it. That's all I need. Stone, weapons status. All weapons charged and ready, Captain. Walker opened a channel to the entire ship. Crew of the Defiance, this is your captain. We're about to attempt something that's never been done before. Escape from the sanctum against the wishes of the blood and sky judges. I won't lie to you. The odds are against us. But remember what this ship stands for. Remember what humanity stands for. We don't give up. We don't surrender. We defy. A cheer echoed through the ship's corridors. Detach all remaining moorings, Walker ordered. Full power to forward shields. Targeting systems on the gap between the Vex vessels. The Defiance broke free from its docking cradle, thrusters flaring brightly against the darkness of space. Almost immediately, the Vex ships opened fire. Energy beams slashed across the void, some glancing off the Defiance's shields in showers of sparks. The ship shuddered under the impacts. Return fire, Walker commanded. Target their weapons arrays only. We're not starting a war. We're finishing one. The Defiance's main cannons roared to life, striking with surprising precision. 2 Vex ships veered off, their weapon systems disabled. They didn't expect us to fight back, Stone observed with satisfaction. They never do, Walker replied. Full speed toward the gap. Reed, get us out of here. The Defiance surged forward, engines straining. Behind them, the sanctum had gone dark as Garcia's virus completed its work, shutting down critical systems, including Project Eclipse. More ships appeared on their sensors, but not Vex vessels. Ambassador Kelth's voice came through the comm system. Captain Walker, the Krith Federation stands with humanity. Our ships will cover your escape. Other vessels joined them, representatives from species who had suffered under the Judge's corruption, now seizing their chance for freedom. The Vex flagship moved to block their escape route, charging its main cannon. They're powering up for a killing shot, Bell warned. Walker nodded. Divert all power to forward shields. Stay on course. The Vex weapon fired, a searing beam of energy that struck the Defiance head-on. The ship bucked violently, systems overloading. Smoke filled the bridge as consoles exploded. Damage report, Walker shouted over the alarms. Shields at 12%, Garcia reported. Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4. Emergency force fields holding. Still on course, Reed added, her face illuminated by the glow of her console. Impact in 10 seconds. The Vex flagship loomed before them, trying to adjust its position to block their escape. Too late, Walker whispered. They're too slow. The Defiance shot through the narrowing gap between enemy ships, scraping its hull against the Vex flagship's shields. Then they were clear, accelerating away from the sanctum and the Vex blockade. We made it, Bell said in disbelief. Walker nodded, watching as the Allied ships followed their path to freedom. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them everything. And let every species in the galaxy know that the reign of the blood and sky judges is over. As the Defiance limped toward Earth, its hull scared and systems barely functioning, the crew gathered on the observation deck to watch the sanctum shrink in the distance. What they had done would change the galaxy forever. What happens now, Captain? Reed asked quietly. Walker looked at the stars ahead, at the future waiting for humanity and all the other species freed from the Judge's corruption. Now, he said with a smile, now we build something better.